Good afternoon, sir. If you could tell me what your name is, your service, what your MOS is, and the years you were in.
Sure. So my name is Emilio Belisle. I was a United States Marines from '98 to 2012, so I served just over 14 years. My rank was a staff sergeant when I got out of the Marine Corps, and I had quite a few jobs while I was in the Marine Corps.
You said you had quite a few. What was your favorite?
Oh gosh, it wasn't the actual assignment or the job is what I got to do while I was in those places. So while I was an administrator in 21, I was stationed in Japan, then stationed in Spain. Road to Spain was just fantastic. And then when I transitioned to a 4133, which is the Marine Corps Community Services field, I got to deploy to combat theater, which is one of the biggest thing you want to do as a Marine is to go out to the combat theater.
So you're saying combat theater for people that don't understand it. Can you explain it a little bit
Oh,
for us?
absolutely, Caesar. That's what we call, the zones out there, Iraq, Afghanistan, all these different places of conflict, right? So, as a Marine, we are trained to be war fighters regardless of the MOS, right? You're a rifleman first. And so when you see Marines deploying, putting themselves in harm's way, you want to be right out there with them.
I understand that being a Marine myself. So what made you join the Marine Corps?
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting story. I was actually born in Honduras. I came over in '86 as I was just about to turn 6. And I grew up in the projects of New York, right? Went from dirt poor, literally in the mountains of Honduras, to poor in the United States. Had a little evolution there. And as soon as I graduated high school, I enlisted. Actually enlisted right in high school. I met a recruiter. He wouldn't stop hounding me, and he got me to sign those papers. And off I joined to the Marine Corps. The reason I joined was because I had no real path in life. I was a street kid. And had I stayed, I don't think I'd be around today, or maybe not in a good place anyways. So the Marine Corps gave me an opportunity to really grow and develop as a man. And it gave me a profound sense of love for this country and my neighbors and my community. So I'm very grateful and appreciative that I got that opportunity.
So being a first generation immigrant to this country, what opportunities did joining the military offer you that you possibly wouldn't have?
Sure. So, recruiters are great at selling you, on all the benefits. And those are all good and well. When I first signed up, all I saw was benefits. I'm going to get all these benefits when I get out. But as you serve, more and more time, overtime rather, those interests shift from I'm getting benefits to how can I serve my Marines, how can I serve my community and those around me better. But all that said, the benefits are still great. So I was able to take advantage of the GI Bill. I got my 4-year degree as soon as I got out of the Marine Corps, bachelor's in business administration or management, I'm sorry. I was able to utilize the VA loan to purchase my first home with practically nothing out of pocket. I paid $87 to buy my first house.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Considering most of the time it's $10, $20, $30,000 being able to do that.
Absolutely.
Is there any advice or words of wisdom you would give someone joining the military or thinking about joining the military?
Absolutely. It's very difficult to be forward thinking, especially when you're, a teenager, right? Joining 17, 18-year-olds going off to the military. To have that long-term vision of where you're going to be in, 4 years when you get out or in 20 years when you get out. I would say to immediately find a mentor, right? Someone that has possibly accomplished some of the things you may want to accomplish yourself. I was just thinking this earlier this week. A lot of veterans, a lot of military and active duty members right now, they don't have a path or plan for once they get out. They may have an idea and they may want to stay in the same field, or like me, I didn't want to stay in retail, so I had to reinvent myself. Had I had a little bit more guidance and mentorship, I could have achieved my goals a little bit sooner. So for example, purchasing your first home, having a home really, what it represents is having a foundation, right? Building stability in where you are, not having necessarily the threat of or the headache of having to relocate every year or every couple of years. So that's a very big piece. And so get informed of what benefits are out there for you before you get out of the military, before you join the military, and again, attach yourself to someone, to a mentor that can help you along the way.
You kind of just touched on it a little bit. My next question was going to be, since you have transitioned out at some point, actually twice, what was the difficulties that you faced personally transitioning out of the military, and maybe how did you deal with that?
Yeah, so I didn't want to stay in the field that I was in, and quite honestly, it didn't pay very well. And I was married at the time. I had two young daughters, family man. I got out making a certain income as an E6, right, and all the benefits, the housing allowance, the food allowance, and now you have to get out and start at the entry level again. So that was very difficult. The GI Bill helped tremendously with the stipend that they pay for housing, so I definitely took advantage of that. But the struggle was really identifying what my place was in the community, finding a career field where I was earning well but also being fulfilled. And so it took me 4 years before I finally found something that I could say, all right, I like doing this, and I'm making good money, and I'm going to pursue this field.
So that being said, what is your current field and position?
So my current field is in mortgage lending. I am a mortgage broker. I lend all over the state of Florida, and I just help consumers understand the difference between going to a big bank and working with a local person like myself, explaining the benefits as far as the financial savings, the having someone really close that you can reach out to, as opposed to someone that may not pick up the phone because it's a Saturday, right?
Understood. So in your current field, how did your military training or experience impact or help you in your current field, or did it not?
It did. 14 years in the Marine Corps, that the Marine Corps is very leadership focused. I mean, from the time you get promoted to Lance Corporal, they put you through, through training, right? Leadership training. Then you have your NCO training, then your staff training. So the leadership aspect really helped me in guiding people in the direction that they want to go in with as little friction as possible. Identifying what their weak points are, building that up, identifying where the strengths are, and encouraging those strengths. So whether it's with my colleagues or with my company, I would manage up, I would manage down. It really provided me with the foundations, the leadership principles, and how to interact with people, how to build them up, how to take somebody that's maybe not so cooperative, right, and make them cooperative in different ways, because you couldn't do it like you did it in the Marine Corps, right? You couldn't just put your hand in someone's face and drop curse bombs on them. So that was an interesting transition as well, to do that with civilians now. But I would say that the whole aspect of leadership in the Marine Corps is what helped me in my transition, or in my current field.
Well, in your current field, being that head broker of your company, correct?
Right. So I'm not the owner of the company, but I'm a VP of the sales department. So I am entrusted to guide and be there for other junior loan officers.
So your subordinates, you took the military training and hopefully combined it somehow?
Oh, absolutely. From developing counseling sheets, right, to sit down and have the one-on-ones and have a format so that you can stay organized. Learning how to pull out of them what their goals are, and creating a pathway for them to achieve those goals in a way that they can tell that it's not just about my needs and me going up the ladder, but really helping them become who they want to be.
That's pretty impressive, and I'm glad you took something out of the military that way. Are you currently doing anything to help veterans out, socially, economically, anything like that, sir?
So as a veteran and as a mortgage broker, I'm big on pushing the VA loans and VA education. I'll tell you a story. Last year, we had an event at the VA hospital. We actually took applications right then and there. These were veterans that attended. Pre-approved 3 of them. The guy that I pre-approved, he was actually homeless, a homeless veteran living in shelters, and he was 100% disabled. So we look at his finances, we look at his situation, and within 45 days, he went from being a homeless veteran to owning his own home. So that for me just kind of catapulted my desire, or blew up my desire even more to help veterans get into stable housing and really utilizing those benefits.
That's pretty amazing that you took a homeless vet off the street and
Yes.
let him find a home in somewhere, as they should have,
Yes.
some shelter. You talked about your family. You want to talk about them a little bit? Give them a little shout out, because I know they have to support you somehow.
Oh, yes. I have 2 daughters, 18 and 17 now, Kaylin and Jazira. And I have 3 sons from 10, 6, and 1. So I'm very fortunate to have them in my life. As a man, they really provide purpose. They give me purpose on those days as a veteran, where I miss the camaraderie of the Marine Corps, of my brothers, or just that whole culture. I can always go back and just look at their beautiful faces and say, I'm meant to be here, and have a purpose.
So you just talked about missing the camaraderie and the brotherhood. How are you supplementing that? How are you fixing that void?
So, for some reason, Marines just tend to gravitate toward one another, and I have found a couple of Marines, very good friends of mine, that we communicate constantly, and we do events together. We've actually every year for the Marine Corps Ball, we just gotten together at a local bar and celebrated as Marines.
So those that don't know, what is the Marine Corps Ball?
So the Marine Corps Ball is the time of year where we celebrate our foundations of the Assembly of the Marine Corps, which is November 10th, 1775. We actually started in a bar, right? So that is where we like to celebrate now.
I celebrate that November 10th every year,
Yes,
being
sir.
a Marine myself. That's very important, near and dear to our hearts. So if I was a young person sitting in front of you thinking about joining the military, what would you tell me?
So I would start with really trying to understand the young person and where their path is. One of the worst things that you can do is put someone into a trajectory that they really have no place being in, right? If you're introvert, extrovert, now the military does a great job of building people up. So that part will be taken care of. But really showing them that there are so many options, so many career paths in the military. That it's not just you joining to pick up a gun and go into combat. No, you're going to learn technical skills. You're going to learn a lot of people skills, leadership. You can do anything from being a paper pusher, right, to fixing aircraft and flying aircraft. So there's really no limits to what you can do and accomplish. The military gives us a great foundation for post-military life. So absolutely great decision. I would say interview the different branches to really get a context and perspective of what your future is going to look like in the next year before you make that choice.
So from your personal experience, do you have a story that you would like to share with us today, whether it be funny or combat or anything about your military experience?
Yeah, so I could sit here all afternoon and tell you stories about my experience, particularly out in the Middle East. One in particular that comes to mind is my very first deployment in 2005. I went to Al Qaeda, and I had to go on my very first convoy. And we were going out to support this local army unit. So we pack up the truck full of merchandise, and we get to the combat outpost. No issues. And so the room that they put us in was riddled with bullet holes and shrapnel holes and all kind of holes on the wall. And they said, "Oh, this is the room that gets hit the most." I said, "You want to put us in here and have all your soldiers cycle through here?" "Oh no, it's fine, it's fine." And so we go 3 days without incident. We get ready to go back to the forward operating base, and we load up the truck. It's about 2-3 in the morning, and we're rolling. And they decide to put me and my lance corporal in the lead security vehicle, and I'm a little confused about that, because we know that convoys have certain protocols, right? If you get into anything, and we weren't part of that unit, we were just supporting that unit. So while we're trained in combat tactics, we didn't necessarily know the protocols. So I asked the lieutenant, "Sir, what happens if we start getting engaged?" He said, "Just stay in the vehicles, and we want to make sure everyone's accounted for and we don't lose anybody, and so just stay in the Humvee." And I said, "Sir," I said, "we're Marines, right?" I said, you know about fire superiority, right? We're going to throw rounds downrange and we're going to take care of it. Well, I was like, you know what, Lance Corporal, let's get in the truck. We're going to follow orders, right? That's what we do. We got in the truck, we get going. And next thing you know, I have all my protection on. And I made sure my Lance Corporal had all his protection on. Kevlar, groin protection, hearing protection, everything. And sure enough, we get hit when IED, we're the lead security vehicle.
IED, sir?
An explosive device, right?
Okay.
So it was, I'm not sure if it was remote detonated or pressure detonated. I think it was remote detonated because they missed our back just by a hair. It put a hole in an up-armored Humvee this big. I mean, it was significant. It lifted us up in the air and pushed us forward. Now the rule is that if you're not, immobilized, you keep going because you don't want to create what we call a kill box. That is that they stop the first and last vehicle and they attack you where you sit. So we just kept rolling, and we made it back to the base. And I'm glad I was wearing all my protection because sure enough, I jumped up. It's all metal and sharp stuff in that Hummer, and I banged my head up against the roof of the vehicle. Right, that is, had I not had ear protection, I can't imagine I would have blown out my eardrums. And it was again my first tour and my first convoy within a month of being there, and I still had 6 more months to go. So I was like, yeah, I'm in for quite a ride. And knowing that there were no real end in sight for the amount of tours that you were going to do, if you kept signing that enlistment, you were going to be deployed. That's just a fact of being a Marine. So with that in mind, that really put things into reality for me of what I had signed up to do.
Oh, thank you for all of that, and it's one heck of a welcoming aboard.
Yes.
I noticed the flags on your lapel. Is there any significance or story behind that?
Well, I think that in the climate where we are today politically and in our communities, I always want to portray an image of patriotism, right? I love my neighbors, whether we agree on topics or not. I'm here to serve, and I think for me that's what it portrays, is that not only did I serve, but I'm here to serve.
No, you're still helping. So that being said, what are your plans for the future?
So, it's unclear at this moment. I'm putting hopefully one through college. One's getting ready to join the Marine Corps herself. I'm not trying to dissuade her, but I'm definitely trying to show her there's other options as well.
What do you mean by other options?
Depending on the field that she wants to join, right? She'll have to look at some of the other services because we may not have that in the Marine Corps. And I have 3 young men to raise, so they're really my focus is providing them with the opportunities that I didn't have as a kid, the knowledge and wisdom that I've gained in understanding the system here in America that my parents weren't able to offer me because they didn't know the system here. So my goal is simply to keep building for them a foundation so that they can take our family, or their families to the next level, whatever that may look like for them.
That's a pretty impressive goal, and you have a very large family and a lot of responsibility.
I do. I don't know what I was thinking. I finally learned how it happened, and so I stopped.
That's awesome. So at the end of this interview, I always like to ask individuals, how would you like, or what would you like to say to the people out there?
When I was asked to do this interview, I told Anna and the other gentleman, I'm really not that interesting. It's like, I did my combat tours, and sure, I know that I've been through some things, but, I try to remain humble and say, I don't know what's so special about me to deserve to be in this publication and in these videos. But I would say that share your story because, being a first generation immigrant, first to graduate high school, college, military, first homeowner in the family, you don't know how far or how you can encourage people by telling your story. So I'm grateful for this opportunity because I hope that those out there that may not see their life as impressive understand that you're going through a journey, right? And the opportunities hopefully are there. And so don't give up. Keep going because you can reach your goals.
That's great advice. On behalf of the Palm Harbor Chamber of Commerce and the Palm Harbor Veterans Association, we would like to thank you for your time. We would like to give you your Veteran Voices dog tag.
Awesome. Pretty cool.
And again, thank you very much for all your time today.
All right.
You have a
Thanks,
wonderful
Chris.
day.
Yes, sir.